Emma Sherwood is a familiar person that you all know. As the Senior Advisor of Labour Mobility for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, she will be talking to us around setting that direction, strengthening relations through Pacific development. I welcome Emma Sherwood to the stage, please.
Nau mai, haere mai, tēnā koutou katoa, and warm Pacific greetings. Distinguished High Commissioners, Pacific Islands Forum Government representatives, Pacific Trade Commissioners, partners in industry, employers, government officials, and friends. It is my pleasure to join you today for the 2025 RSE conference. While my speaking slot today will be focused primarily on one of our two labour mobility development programs, I think it's important that I first contextualise why these programs are important and why the New Zealand Government continues to fund these programs that provide wraparound support to the RSE scheme. The New Zealand Government and the Foreign Minister, the Honourable Winston Peters, continues to emphasise that the Pacific remains at the centre of New Zealand's foreign policy and development cooperation. Now more than ever, our identity, prosperity and security are intertwined with the Pacific through deep cultural, people-to-people, historical and economic linkages. The well-being of New Zealand's people, economy and environment is closely linked to the well-being of the Pacific region that we all share. We are committed to working with our Pacific partners in tackling the global challenges that affect our region. The Minister has placed focus on strengthening political level relationships and lifting our presence and engagement in the region. The Minister has been clear that the region should expect to see New Zealand continue to strengthen its Pacific partnerships by listening and working with Pacific countries to grow prosperity and bolster the security and resilience. These sentiments will continue to inform the prioritisation of the Ministry's work in the Pacific. So, how does labour mobility fit into the picture? The New Zealand Government remains committed to the RSE scheme. It is an internationally recognised circular migration initiative that has supported economic development in the Pacific and New Zealand for 18 years. It sits at the core of a number of New Zealand's bilateral relationships and is highly regarded across the region. We are committed to working with all RSE scheme stakeholders to ensure workers are able to maximise the benefits from their participation. We've been consulting with Pacific partners and communities and will continue to do so to ensure our development programs help to deliver on this objective. This includes understanding the impacts, both positive and negative, on domestic workforces, communities and families that remain at home. More broadly, labour mobility constitutes an important part of New Zealand's efforts to support sustainable economic development outcomes. In working towards a peaceful, prosperous and resilient Pacific region, it is crucial that labour mobility initiatives are well designed, managed and supported. We have two labour mobility development programs, the Strengthening Pacific Labour Mobility Program, or SPLM, and the RSE Worker Training Program, recently relaunched as NOR, Village of Learning. The fabulous Mediama from EIT will be speaking next on NOR, so I will focus on SPLM. This is the logic diagram for SPLM 3. I won't go through it all, but this is the framework that guides the work that we are doing on labour mobility. The overall goal of the third phase is to increase social and economic wellbeing and resilience across the Pacific through relevant, efficient and enhanced circular labour mobility participation. This new design reflects that each Pacific country is at a different point in their labour mobility journey and that a one-size-fits-all approach will not deliver the support required to maximise labour mobility participation. We are conscious that this funding is much anticipated, but we also want to make sure that we get it right. So we have identified 9 key outputs based on the SPLM consultation with Pacific partners. These range from working with Australian colleagues to adopt the In-Country Recruitment Database, or IRD for RSE, providing support to LMUs to streamline worker processing, support to enhance the wellbeing of workers and their families, a redesign of pre-departure training, and support to labour mobility units to develop and implement reintegration strategies. Work towards these outputs and implementation of SPLM funding is being delivered in a staged approach. First and foremost, our partnership with MB that Fiona referred to before. Tōso Waka o Manu, or TVOM's role, is in place. TVOM are our onshore delivery partner for SPLM. They're a team of 4, Matt, Falute, Safia and Afzal, who many of you will be familiar with. They remain the key contact for Pacific Labour Sending Units. They are also the key contact for New Zealand-based country liaison officers. TVOM support liaison officers to travel around visiting workers proactively or in response to issues that may arise. They provide various training opportunities, such as supporting them to attend workshops and meetings, including the RSE conference. TVOM are also leading on New Zealand's work to support RSE workers to contribute to their home superannuation schemes, work that Matt Gibbs will be presenting on later today. TVOM support the hosting of visiting RSE ministerial and official level delegations. This year this has included Vanuatu, Fiji and Timor-Leste, and I'd also like to thank employers for their hospitality in receiving these delegations. They're also leading a workstream on RSE related research and have contracted Richard Bedford to undertake some RSE research and analysis. Some of you have also possibly attended one of TVOM's webinars earlier in the year. Our second and third work streams started to be mapped out late last year with a regional assessment project. A consultant travelled out to labour sending countries to map the capacity of labour sending units and understand where our support could be best targeted. The consultant provided us with bespoke reports on what labour mobility units and officials in each country said would help them to achieve their RSE priorities. Based on these reports and subsequent decisions with labour sending units, this has resulted in 2 clear offshore focused work streams for SPLM. The first of these 2 is funding for labour sending units to increase liaison officer and labour sending unit capacity. This will provide labour sending units with resource to recruit additional New Zealand-based country liaison officers, which will be scaled on the number of workers each country sends. This will also provide labour sending units with resource to recruit additional staff for their team to support the RSE scheme, and to fund other RSE-related activities that have either been deprioritised due to capacity constraints or new activities. Some of the things that LMU's labour sending units are choosing to use this funding for over and above additional staff include debriefing sessions for returned workers, venue hire and printing of materials for pre-departure training, first aid training for RSE workers during pre-departure training, laptops and printers, and the development of new resources to support the recruitment and mobilisation process. The first of these contracts is in place, and we are working towards all being in place over the next 3 months. Our final work stream is technical assistance. This work stream is designed to enable the procurement of specialist skills to boost capability and develop products, tools and resources to use across labour sending countries. 3 key priorities were identified by the consultant through their discussions with labour sending units, and we've just received approval to go to market to procure a specialist to provide both in-country and remote policy and process support to develop programs based on labour sending units' priorities. This could include activities such as policy implementation advice and support, engagement and communications training, development of streamlined recruitment and mobilisation processes, and strategic marketing to employers. The specialist will also redesign the pre-departure training material. Extensive consultation with all stakeholders on this will result in more exhaustive briefing materials being made available. Resources will be developed for workers to take away from their briefing and return back to, and we could look at videos or other visual tools for the briefings, and then these of course would all be translated and printed. The specialist would also provide labour sending units with support to develop or deliver existing reintegration strategies. This may help labour sending units to do more goal setting with workers pre-departure, follow up on these goals upon return, and could also support remittance data capture and reporting. We're about to begin a procurement process for this package and are working towards the specialist support commencing in early 2026. When we consulted with labour sending units on this package, we heard that it's very much supported, but that it is important that this package complements other initiatives underway in some countries and doesn't duplicate them. This includes work underway by Australian colleagues, by regional organisations such as the IOM and ILO, and of course the work being done by employers. Coordination is a priority for us. To conclude, this presentation has just scratched the surface of the work that is progressing under SPLM. As I mentioned earlier, we are very conscious that the funding is much anticipated, but we also want to make sure that we get it right. We're all here today because we're committed to the RSE scheme, and we all have a part to play in ensuring its long-term success. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Are there any questions from the floor for Emma? None. Okay, thank you.